Every day I get some money, every day we blowing gas. Every day we in the mall, every day we blowing cash. I do this every day. Every day I do this shit. It's just an ordinary day. Every day I get some money, every day we blowing gas. Every day we in the mall, every day we blowing cash. I do this every day. Every day I do this shit. It's just an ordinary day.
Hey yo, what up? It's your boy Face from Skool Tv. I'm down here at 917 North Ashland in Chicago, Illinois, with one of the hottest stores in the city right now, with my man's Tony. Tony, introduce yourself to the people.
I'm Tony from Boneyard, one half owner of the shop. We sell vintage clothes, Supreme, Bape, Off-White. Then we do sneakers, Yeezys, Jordans, really everything in between.
So, as for people that never been to Boneyard, never heard of Boneyard, which y'all should have by now, because like I said, they're one of the hottest stores in the city. Like, what do you hang your hat on the most? Like the vintage clothing, because I noticed y'all got like dope ass vintage gear in here. Or do you like hang your hat on like the fact that y'all got like the dopest kicks?
Well, I mean, we started strictly as a vintage store 2 years ago. Next August will be our second year open. We did a lot of vintage over the years and sneakers, but now like I would say we sell more shoes and Bape and Supreme than anything. But like I've always been into shoes. Like shoes kind of always was my thing. My partner's thing was more the vintage, and I did the vintage as well. But like shoes has always been my thing.
So you said y'all only been here for 2 years?
2 years. Next August, next month will be 2 years.
That's crazy, because the amount of success that y'all accumulated within those 2 years is amazing. Sometimes it takes stores like 5 years to get to where y'all at as far as recognition in the city. That's a big city, you know? But I feel like a majority of the city know about Boneyard because y'all stay so in tune with the community. And that's one question that I wanted to ask you too, is like how important is the youth, do you feel how important is the youth to the success of a brand like Boneyard?
I mean, it's probably the most important. A lot of the kids are what's not running, but like kind of driving the culture, you know? Like the kids are the ones that are buying the stuff, they're posting the stuff, they're going out there standing in line. Like the youth is what's really keeps this thing rolling, and it's kind of always been that way, and like now more so that way because of social media, where like, you know, kids are on their phone. Like the kids that are 13, 14, 15, 16, they grew up with a phone in their hand. Like us, we were outside. Like these kids knew nothing but iPads, video games, phones. You know, kids got phones at 7, 8 years old now.
That's
like,
a fact. My son's 6 and he got his own phone.
You know, kids know nothing but like technology now. So like they're always ahead of us because they're on their phones. They're seeing who's doing the raffle, who's got this, how could I get that? Like they're really in tune with social media and technology, and like that's just the way this whole sneaker shit has been going.
So do you contribute the youth? Do you give the props to the youth for y'all growth so fast?
I mean,
or what do you think it was? Was it the fact that y'all just maintained the hottest shit, or was it the fact that like y'all just was expert marketing and like, because y'all grew very fast. Like it went from like, okay, y'all got a store, but then to everybody knows about this store, whether you in Chicago or out Chicago. Like,
I mean,
I
think like you got to look deeper than that, because like this isn't, Boneyard's not just 2 years in the making. Like we've been doing this shit like just under different names, you know, or in different ways. So it's not like, yeah, you guys open a store, then 2 years later everybody knows about it. So like, you know, we've been kind of like moving and shaking and trying to do stuff, building
y'all names
before the store, and
so
then
y'all
like
names kind of carried over into the store, and that cloud that you established on your own before the store just brought it to the store.
I think that, and like just doing things right. Like talking to people, like being genuinely interested in like how people are, and not just open the door and let people walk in and out, like holding conversations, like, hey, what's up, bro? I like how I like this, I like that, like just being genuine, like,
yeah,
you know, because a lot of stories you go to, people don't even want to talk to you, like,
yeah, that's a fact.
They judge you right off the bat. Oh, this guy's he ain't shit. He ain't gonna buy nothing.
Yeah, he look like he ain't got a lot of money.
He doesn't got this or he doesn't got like. You know, we say hello to every person that walks in the door, you know, how you doing, what's up, man? Can we help you with anything? And that's, you know, like I learned that working at another store, that's just how we did shit, you know, like, because I've been places all over the world and got treated good and I got treated bad, like, you know, and it's just strictly off like judging, like, and you know, that shit's not right. Like, how you gonna let a salesperson that just works at the store like determine the outcome of your store? You know, I'm the owner here. So I tell everybody that works with us, it's only me, my partner, and one other guy, and like we're tight, you know. So we all are on the same page. Like I'm not gonna hire somebody that's like all big headed or this and that, and like only wants to talk to the chick that walks in, or only want to talk to the dude that got off-white on. Nah, we got to greet everybody because everybody's came here for a reason.
Right.
You know.
So in the words of Kendrick Lamar, bitch, be humble.
Yeah.
You feel me?
For sure.
But like, so the transition from not having a store to having a store, like what was that transition like for you and your partners to get together? It was like, let's go with this. How did Boneyard become Boneyard?
Okay, so like I'd say about 2010, I started selling vintage shoes on eBay, and that's like kind of when the snapbacks, like shit was going crazy. Yeah. So we started selling vintage clothes. Everything came together because we were hitting these old shoe spots. They had the old shoes, they had the starter jackets, the starter hats, all the old shit, you know. So it just went hand in hand, and that's how I met my partner. He was doing the same thing on his own, and then we just did it a little bit over the years together, had some beef, fell out, came back, then we started the Boneyard Chicago.com, which was Black Friday 2015. So we operated almost a whole year, just website, you know. And it was all right, but it wasn't the full potential that we knew we could do, you know, because like we seen other people that were doing the same shit as us, less caliber, but they were going way harder, you know, like with sales and shit. So we're like, man, we could do this. So we looked for a store, and this whole time we had been looking for spots. And one day we came across this one, signed the lease. I was still working at another shoe spot.
So you got a history of, like, before Boneyard, you got a history in retail, and a history with selling vintage clothes. So what you're doing is not new to you.
No.
This is something that you was doing, even working at an actual store, not just selling vintage shit on eBay. But you was working at an actual store, so you actually got experience from an actual retail store. Yeah,
I was working at Diana Shoes for 6 years. Then later on it turned into Dreamtown, and then I moved to DTS in downtown Oak Park. But like that's really where I learned a lot about like how stores operate.
Shout out to Dreamtown too, man.
For sure, that's family.
They put on for a lot of people, man.
Yeah, for sure. But that's really how I learned like about how like to operate a store, you know, like. Cause you can't be taught this shit, like you know.
Yeah, literally.
Like my partner doesn't have the same background as me. Like he's better at some things and I'm better than him, you know. Vice versa, but like you can't be taught this shit. Like you got to learn. Like I worked there 6 years, damn near every day. Like I would only have one off day, 1 or 2 off days, mostly 6 days a week. Like I was in there like. That shit was my college. I went to college, but I didn't learn shit in college. I learned shit in the store. And being outside and being around it, you know? So that's like the best education I could ever have had.
Being in the field.
Is the best
way to learn, because learning their mistakes you can kind of like see like, oh damn, we overstocked on this shit, now they sitting on it. Then you learn from that experience to translate it to now you got your own store, what to stock up on, what not to have too much of. So that did teach you something, a lot.
Yeah. Okay,
so like how do you stay relevant in a game where it's like, especially with you having a brick and mortar store, like an actual physical location, which is dope. Like I feel like the vibe of the store matches the personality of the owners.
Sure.
So when you walk in here, you feel like this is a different environment. Like I say that in a lot of interviews because the people that I interview actually create an environment that's like tailor-made to them. And this feels like, you know what I'm saying, like when you hear Boneyard and then you walk in the store, you're like, okay, it kind of fits. You know what I'm saying? So how do you stay relevant and winning in an environment that's like oversaturated?
Always changing. Well, that's the thing. Like, you know, the vintage is what we knew, you know, and it was good, but it wasn't as good as the Supreme and the Babes.
Yeah, but like right now you see everybody popping up selling vintage clothes.
Sure, but like, the thing is, you gotta always like it's gotta happen organically. Like if it's not organic and you're just trying too hard, and if you're trying too hard, the shit 9 out of 10 times doesn't work. You know, you're just forcing some shit. Like if you do it like and you build and you grow and you like try different things and you just try shit till you get it right. You know, like you always, it's like you got to take a shot in the dark a lot of times. You know, and like sometimes you miss, sometimes you hit, and just keep rolling with what works.
Yeah, so because it's right now more than ever, especially with the internet, it's more of a competitive market than it's ever been. And for you and your partners to have this much success, I salute you. And I definitely want to let that be known that from an outsider looking in, I definitely respect y'all grind and the way that y'all consistently win. And because I know and I understand the climate that we are moving in. It's like you got people's grandmothers and cousins and people that know nothing about shoes standing in the line to get shoes. And
I mean, but that shit only lasts for so long. Like those people, they'll make a little bit of money and they'll find something else that they think they can make more money in. Like you gotta, I've been doing this shit since I was a kid. Yeah. I didn't sell fucking cars when that shit was a thing. I sold shoes and I stuck to selling shoes. Like you gotta eat, sleep, and fucking breathe this shit. Cause like when you're trying to do all different types of shit, you're really lacking somewhere else, you know? Exactly. Like if you fucking stay consistent and like stay motivated and like genuinely love this shit, you're gonna win.
Yeah, that's a fact. Cause I noticed like from the clothing that you have in the store to the shoes that you have in the store, even like the key maker, you know, your game, like the giveaways that you guys do, you guys like you can tell like you guys genuinely like love what y'all do. It's like it's not fake, it's not phony.
Yep.
And that probably contribute to y'all success.
Definitely.
So like with that being said, I want to do like a little transition to talk more about Tony and get more specific on your story a little bit more. Like, so what part, are you from Chicago?
Yeah, Chicago.
What part of Chicago did you grow up in?
It's called the Island. It's right on Austin and Roosevelt, like right across from Oak Park, Berwyn, Cicero. But I've been there my whole life. My family lives there. We all like live on the same block. My grandma lives across from us. So like, it's just like family. Like we're real like deep family oriented. Yeah,
so how would you describe your childhood? Was it like lower class, middle class?
Middle class. Middle class,
so y'all was doing pretty all right?
Yeah, like my dad always had like a pretty decent job. My mom had like a home daycare. But we were, you know, we traveled a lot. We did different things. Like, but like my parents were more old school. Like they weren't about buying us like the newest shoes all the time or the best clothes, but we definitely went on vacation every year, and that was a trade-off, you know? Like, you could have all the raw shit, and never go anywhere, or you could fucking go on vacation. Which one do you want?
Right.
And like they didn't give us that option. They just did it. You know what I'm saying?
But in the long run, that probably helps you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Traveling. I tell people all the time, travel as much as you possibly. That is one thing that I think you can never waste money doing.
Never.
Like traveling and taking in cultures and
seeing new
shit more than just your neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's very fucking important to me.
Definitely.
Like more than anything else, like more than your fly outfit that you're gonna get 1,000 likes on Instagram. It's like traveling is like nothing you can lose on. So I definitely recommend that to the audience. And so growing up, did you have any influences that led you to the sneaker game, or was it just like you seeing it on TV, like, man, I want that shit, or like watching Jordan and shit? Like
the real way I got into shoes was like collecting basketball cards, and I was like always like into like how like the different shoes people were wearing, you know, like it really wasn't. There was no internet then, so you couldn't look up, oh, what shoe did Jordan wear yesterday? What shoe did Penny wear yesterday? Like, you kind of had to either wait till the Sports Illustrated came, or you seen the basketball card or the newspaper. Like, shit was different then. Like, you know, kids these days will never have that issue. Like, damn, I want, like, we couldn't rewind TV back then. The shit was just live. You didn't have TiVo and all this shit. You know, now you could pause it and like, oh shit, look what he's wearing. He's wearing this or he's wearing that. You know, that's how I really got into it, was the basketball cards. You know, and then like, I don't know if you remember, but like you would go to Foot Locker, and they would have this big board on the wall, and it was a calendar of all the shoes that were coming out the next month.
Oh yeah. No.
I remember taking pictures of that shit. I still got some at the crib, but it would say like, I don't know, the second Saturday it was like the Jordan came out, or like you would see the new colorways, you know, just the shit was different then, and like it made you appreciate the shit more. Like we didn't, like the only time I was getting a Jordan, if that shit was at the outlet on sale or whatever, you know, we were mostly wearing just like sale shit. So like, you know, but then it, you know, like it wasn't really known as sales shit. It was like, oh, you got that Jordan, because people weren't like on to the next one always, like. So
like your childhood, you middle class, very family orientated, and you first got in love with it through basketball cards.
Yep.
And like, okay, you start collecting basketball cards, then you like seeing the shoes that they wear, then that translated to you actually, when did you like start getting into like, okay, I'm gonna start selling these shoes? So
I used to work at a golf course as a caddy, starting when I was 13, and like I would just save, every year I'd save my money and just kept rolling it over, you know, and then like maybe 2008 or 9, I started selling like basketball cards, baseball cards on eBay, and like textbooks and like all types of whatever I could get my hands on. I was selling that shit. So my guy from high school started working at Nike Town, and they used to get 40% off on all shit. But they had to wait a day, and like Jordans weren't even selling out then. So I would give him the bread to get 2 or 3 pairs, whatever they would allow him to get, and I would keep one, and I would sell the other one. So I would pretty much get my shit for like a little bit more than like 30, 40 bucks always, you know?
Right.
So that's how
it was like 90 bucks for a pair of
it was probably like 130, 130 I think. But I would try to sell the shit as close as possible to box price, so I could like kind of get my shit for free, you know?
Exactly.
And then like I built a couple customers, and like I knew a few places I could get shit early. And this is all through like Craigslist, Facebook ads, shit like that. Like it wasn't even on eBay, because on eBay the shit was already cheap. Like, you know, the stores weren't even selling the shit out, so like people didn't even, on eBay the shit was cheaper than the stores, because they were just trying to sell it, you know. So through Craigslist, and like it just started growing and growing, like people at the barber shop, or you know, people that didn't even know, like didn't know, you know what I mean? And then I think I really got into it like 2010 after I graduated high school, with the snapbacks and all that shit. Like, and then like, you know, everything started picking up. The Jordans started selling out. The Space Jams, I remember I had like 10 or 12 pairs as a fucking kid in high school, and like It was crazy. I used my mom's credit card, all types of shit, bro.
So I got a question. Like I'm listening to you in my mind. I'm listening to a person with a hustler mentality.
Yeah.
Like whether it's like basketball cards, you gonna flip them, or when you first started flipping, like you said, with textbooks, whatever, you was flipping anything
and everything.
Yeah, like you got a hustler's mentality. So at any point was you ever like a collector? Like did you?
Oh yeah, for sure. I always was buying shit that I wanted and kept it for the most part. But like there was always like, I always like to make money too. But I was originally buying shit just for, you know, myself, and then it kind of grew into that, you know, like I was collecting the shit myself, and then it grew into making money and doing that shit.
How do you feel about the resale game like right now? Like everybody knows it's like super oversaturated. Like everybody's doing it. How do you feel about the game right now compared to like back in the day? It used to be like only very few stores had this drop, and the people that was in line to buy the shoe was actually planning on wearing the shoe.
Sure.
Like, how do you feel about the way the game is as of right now?
I mean, I think there's like a lot of pros and cons to it now, because like you gotta like get shit out quick, you know, like, well, if you don't sell it within the first 2 weeks, it's back to retail. Yeah. You know, and like you got to be real competitive. Like everybody's trying to do this shit now, and like if your prices are too high, or they're too low, or this or that, like you're not gonna stay ahead. So you gotta like offer good prices, move shit quick, and just keep it rolling. It's not, there's like the old mentality is sitting on shit to hope to get your top dollar, or to, you know, it's not gonna happen, because there's way more kids involved that don't have the bread to sit on the shit like before, you know? Yeah. Before, the shoes never even sold out. Like when shoes were selling out, it wasn't sold out to customers. 30 shoes went to customers, and the last 30 went to resellers. Yeah. So they were the ones sitting on the shit. Like it really wasn't even sold out. They were just holding it and trying to sell it, you know? And then a couple years ago, that shit all kind of ended, and that's what like the Jordan market and a lot of other shit fucking went down because of that. Like resellers stopped buying those last 30 pairs, and stores were stuck with the shit, and then everyone's like, oh fuck it, they're not even shit because they're still sitting, you know?
But like with the raffle system, you know, that shit get ate up by bots. You got people that basically camp and like sit outside of stores just to get a shoe to sell for $40, and then they be in line with their grandma, their cousin, their nephew, and a lot of them don't know nothing about shoes. It's just everybody's in it because they see it as like a snatch and grab. All right, let's all line up, get these shoes, and we can make a couple dollars off of it. And it's really watering down the market, because shoes that's actually worth something, you got a lot of guys out here standing in line to make $30 off a shoe. And
I mean, like, whatever. If someone wants to waste their whole day by doing that, let them, you know. I really don't try to get too involved in who's doing what and why they're doing it, because like you can't change it. If some goofy got 30 people in line to make $10 each, let them, or they whatever it is, you know. There's people that make money that way, and then there's people that don't make money, you know. You just gotta kind of get in where you fit in, you know. Right. But like the camping and all that shit is definitely different from when I was actually going out there doing this shit, you know. It's just,
speak on that a little bit, like the difference from how it was when you was camping compared to now. Because like,
I mean, like pretty much you said it.
I know from like my OGs, like my mentors, like my guy Mike, Sneaker Geek. Make sure you follow him on Instagram. That's Sneaker Geek on Instagram. Make sure you follow him. Like he brought up a point to me the other day, and it was true. Like back in the day when we used to camp for shoes, like everybody sitting in line had the dopest kicks on just to flex on everybody that they sitting in line with. And then you was really flexing if you had the shoe already on that you was about to get. You was really flexing.
Well, I mean, I think the main difference now is then opposed to then is like then people were actually standing in line to wear the shit.
Yeah.
And there was people that were standing in line to resell the shit, obviously. But now it's like this many people want the shit opposed to that many people that are reselling it. So it's like this shit's not getting worn. Like, you know, nobody's really wearing this shit. So everybody's got this small fucking margin to make bread on because everybody's trying to sell them and there's not enough buyers.
Right.
You know?
So a question that I always ask in my interviews, I always ask this question. Like, I'm gonna give context to the question before I ask it. Like right now, Chicago, we got Boneyard, we got Diplomatic 1750, we got leaders, we got fashion geeks. Okay, but let's go bigger than that. We got Virgil, we got Kanye, we got Don C, we got so many people that's pioneering the industry, like influencing the industry in a major way from Chicago. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's fashion or slang. You hear thought, gang. You know what I'm saying? Like, you hear our terminology. You see the way we dress, like the trends we set. So I say all that to say this. Do you feel like Chicago get the respect that it deserves?
I mean, yeah, it's just there's a lot more shit going on in New York and LA than here. That's just kind of facts. But you know, like, there's a lot of dope shit happening in the city that doesn't get the spotlight because it's getting overshadowed by what's really going on the coast. You know, all the money's on the coast. All the rich people live on the coast. Like, that's where the paparazzis are. That's where, like, people see shit for the first time for most of the shit that's going on, you know?
Right.
So, like, Chicago doesn't always get the spotlight, but, like, you know, like Don C and Virgil and all these guys you named, they don't necessarily live here anymore, but they give people, like, I mean, you should be encouraged, bro. Like, if you're from Chicago and these dudes made it, like, that should be encouragement. Yeah, they're not fucking here every weekend partying in the club and shit, but, like, that should be encouragement that they were just kids from Chicago, literally, that fucking blew up and changed the world. Yeah, all three of them, like Don C, Kanye, Virgil, like, literally changed the world, all of them.
Shout out to Zoe, too. He got 2 Pumas dropping this year. Like, it's a lot of people in Chicago doing their thing, and I always ask that question because sometimes I feel like Chicago get overlooked when they do exclusive drop in Paris or exclusive drop in New York. But the people that created that product that's for the exclusive drop is actually from Chicago, and we influence the world so much that I always ask that question: do you think we get the respect we deserve? And so you think we kind of do, but I mean, there's bigger markets.
Yeah, exactly. Like the coast's always been kind of ahead of, you know, we're the Midwest,
right?
Like, they've always kind of been ahead, you know, and it'll probably kind of always be that way until, like, something crazy happens here.
Okay. So with that being said, man, you know, like I said, it's Face from Flight Skool TV. I'm here with my man Tony from Boneyard. What do you see Boneyard going from today till tomorrow and then after?
I mean, hopefully just get bigger and better, you know, more selection, but, like, you know, we're really pushing our own brand because, like, that's really important, you know.
Yeah, you know.
Like, you could sell 500 different brands, but what's your store without your own brand that people are rocking with?
Yeah.
You know.
I feel like, and like as y'all see, you know, I'm rocking Boneyard from head to shorts. You feel me? Like, it's definitely something dope and unique that you should have in your closet if you don't. And basically, how can people reach you if they can't make it to your physical store, which is located at 917 North Ashland Avenue in Chicago, Illinois? If they can't make it to your physical
the best
location,
way is we have our website just for our merch right now, but the best way is, like, through Instagram, Boneyard_Chicago. You can see everything we post. Everything that comes in through the door, we post it on Instagram. So that's the easiest way. But if you can't make it to the store, but the website's, like, up and coming right now too.
Okay. So basically, That's what you got, man. Face from Flight Skool TV. My man's Tony. Boneyard Chicago. If you don't know, you should know, and now you do. Holla at your boy, man.